CNN is admitting that President Trump is running circles around the Democrats who can't keep up with his record pace of executive orders.
I think there was this concern among some folks that Donald Trump would come in for a second term and kind of be a lame duck. He ain't no lame duck. If anything, he's a soaring eagle. What am I talking about here? Let's talk about Trump executive orders in 2025. He's already signed 111 so far. That is the most at this point in a presidency in at least 100 years.
Dems just can't keep up with soaring eagle Trump, and now some think purging the older lawmakers out of their party could help their chances. According to Politico, a new wave of Democratic primary challengers are trying to turn the midterms into a referendum on age and complacency in their party's ranks. But it's not just lawmakers they should be concerned with. This Gen Zer noticing a lot of the hands-off protesters were old fogies.
Where the is Gen Z? These people are cheering, they're talking like it's just the 60s, it's just like the 60s, and they're having conversations and walking slowly. There's no fight here, there's no youth here. It's all 30-somethings and their children, and then seniors, and God bless everybody who showed up today, but I'm really disappointed in the youth turnout. Where is the youth turnout? This is your future that is going to be impacted by the actions of the Trump administration.
All right, Greg.
Did she just say the 30-somethings were old?
Yeah, with their children.
That changes everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think I don't think it's even about age. I think it's, we've talked about authenticity before. You can't trust the Dems because they're always code switching. You know, they 1 minute they're condemning oligarchs, the next minute they're defending the top 10%. They're all about the stock market. They switch or affect dialects depending on the audience that they're talking about. That's not happening with Trump. You know, Trump is Trump, whether he's in the boardroom or at the McDonald's takeout window or in a dump truck, you know. There's no, like, oh, that's Trump over there, that's blah, blah, blah. I think the younger generation gravitates towards Trump, and I've talked to people with kids in college, and it's a fact. He's a folk hero to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. They like him because he's viewed with hysterical rage by the people they find comical. Whether, you know, you're in high school, it's a guidance counselor, or it's your liberal professor, they think it's funny that he makes them crazy. And I guess it's like the flip of you know, what it was like in the 60s where, you know, you had the button-down, you know, pipe-smoking professor who gets all uptight because you like rock music and protests against the war. The left, the boomers, became the establishment. And now you have this anti-establishment character, Trump. He may not be the age that you'd expect him to be, but he certainly is the personality. He reminds me of how beloved Rodney Dangerfield was in Back to School. Mm-hmm. You know, he was a character that went back to college, a rich guy, and everybody, it didn't matter how old he was just fun.
Yeah.
Jessica, how do you explain Harry Enton saying that Trump is a soaring eagle, not a lame duck?
Well, there was another Harry Enton segment a little bit later where he said that Trump's economic approval, it's the worst ever for a president at this point. So that feels kind of ostrich. Well, he's a soaring eagle that he's signing so many executive orders. So soaring eagle in terms of not wanting to deal with Congress and wanting as much executive power as possible. But the thing that really matters and that got him elected was how he was going to manage the economy. And that's in the toilet. So that's fallen 20 points since inauguration. Majorities oppose tariffs. 70% say that they're going to raise prices on us, which is how tariffs work.
Jesse? Is the economy in the toilet?
A little bit.
Like, how many variables are you looking at? Are you just looking at the stock market?
Well, no, I think it does matter that we've lost trillions.
Are you looking at inflation, the price of eggs, your gas? Because I always love how libs now use the stock market as the single variable for the economy.
No, it's not the single variable.
Flip.
I think that when you have people from small business owners to huge investors that were backing Donald Trump in the election very publicly coming out and saying that what he's doing is crazy. I can't use the expletive that Ken Langone, for instance, used, but I think that he knows what's going to be good for Main Street. When you have Walmart coming out and say they can't even do their normal economic forecasting because of the impact of these tariffs. And that's why it's so important to note the fact that he took off some of the retaliatory tariffs, but he still has this 10% baseline tariff, which will jack up prices.
Small stock market.
Right now, we have
prices
clarity
are not
on the stock market.
No, we don't.
That's
and there's
the difference.
Still trillions
we have clarity
lost.
now.
We say, yes, today was a rebound day, and whoever saw his tweet and got in there and bought in the dip, you know, God bless you. I saw someone invested $1.3 million and made $33 million in a couple of minutes off of it. But this is a Main Street and a Wall Street problem.
Yeah. All right, Jesse, do you want to respond to that?
She's just a panicking. You heard what he said. Sit back and be cool, Jessica. You can't get so freaked out.
Tell a small business owner to be cool.
Jessica, I'm telling you to be cool.
No.
I'm telling these small business owners I'll be around Sunday and I'll buy the whole place up.
Really?
Yes, Jessica, relax. He's doing something that needed to be done. It's a little bit crazy right now, but it'll end up good in the long run. We've talked about this all week. You haven't been here. Money is power. But you know anything more important than that is political power. And Trump understands money because he's made a lot of it, and he has political power. You could say peak political power now, and he's combined the two, and he's exercising it in a way that I've never seen before. Benjamin Disraeli, he was the Prime Minister of Great Britain, happened to be Jewish. Jessica?
The very best people.
He says power has only one duty, to secure the social welfare of the people. And when you look at the way Donald Trump exercises his power, he's really focused on the welfare of the people, whether that's securing the border, keeping the streets safe, making sure that we have Greenland, for instance. That's about the social welfare. Today, Jessica, he's having this meeting. I believe Gretch was there. What do you call her? Big Gretch?
We do.
And for the last 15 years, all of these politicians have been trying to rid Lake Michigan of this Asian carp, an invasive species, which is destroying the lake. It happens to be the 20% of the fresh body of water in the world.
It wasn't zebra mussels.
Zebra mussels are also a problem.
Biden didn't do it. Obama didn't do it. He did it. He spent the money and he did it. And Big Gretch was there to thank him. You know why, Jessica? He's problem solving. And that's the bottom line. And that's why young Democrats are mad at their old fogies, because they had power just a little while ago, and they squandered it. They spent trillions, and they have nothing to show for it.
And you know, Dana, along with that, you've got they've got this age issue with the leadership, the Democrats, and they're upset with Pelosi and Schumer and all of them. So are they going to call George Clooney for an op-ed piece?
Well, I think they'll probably call him for money. One of the problems for the Democrats is that a lot of the progressives that are going to challenge these old guard are very far left, okay? And they could win. And then what does that do for them, right? So that's a problem for them in the general elections, maybe not in a safe seat like Pelosi, but yeah, that is an issue. And then I read it, I can't remember the kid's name. He's 23 years old. I think he's 23, might even be younger. He dropped out of college because he figured out how to do online fundraising and all of the strategic messaging for Democrats, and he has been making a ton of money. Do you know who I'm talking about? He says, it's not Act Blue kid, it's like another guy. And what that young woman said is like, where are all the young people? The young people aren't going to go to the street. The young people are online. And that's where President Trump found the young people that support him as well. So they can battle it out there online while the older people are like living their dream of the 60s on the streets.
That is such a great point.
Well, thanks.
A lot of young people online.
Yeah.